baseball is back, baby. But it's amazing. The game itself, I think, is going to be overshadowed by a lot of zaniness that happened in the first game between the Nats and the Yankees. And then while everybody was excited, at least we had good weather in L.A. We talked about this yesterday, the fact that there was going to be a weather delay or weather conditions potentially on the East Coast. West Coast, great weather for the Dodgers game. But by far, the biggest story coming out of the Dodgers game was Mookie Betts taking a knee. And by far the biggest story, I would say, coming out of the game between the Nats and the Yankees was Dr. Fauci's first pitch. So let's just dive in here in general. Let's start off on the East Coast. First of all, you guys know I am ecstatic to have sports back. I don't know that there's anybody who has been more optimistic and waving the flag of eventually we will have sports back more than me. Certainly not anybody in national media who has been waving the flag more. And so right before the first game, we get word that Soto has failed a coronavirus test. And then later, word comes out that maybe he didn't because he had taken subsequent tests and those were negative. Get ready for storylines like this to emerge throughout sports for a long time to come now as all these different leagues come out, because I think there'll be some positives, there'll be false positives, there will be negatives. There's going to be so many stories told about testing in general that it's going to be hard to keep up with. And also, by the way, if you are a gambler, it's going to be virtually impossible to figure out who's playing, and the lines are going to swing so massively. And we're going to talk gambling a little bit in the next segment, a little bit of a tease there. But most people reacted to Dr. Anthony Fauci coming out and going full-on 50 Cent in his throw. Now, some of you may remember I threw a first pitch at a Vanderbilt baseball game a while back, and I just hummed it right over the top of the catcher. Now, I didn't have a true catcher. It was a baseball pitcher at the Vanderbilt baseball game who was there to catch, but I made the decision, you know what, you don't want to skip it, right? The worst-case scenario for an opening pitch is to skip it. So at worst-case scenario, you hit the backstop, show that you have the arm to be able to gun it all the way to the backstop from the pitcher's mound. It's okay if you go long. I don't understand. I know Fauci has done incredible things in his career with the AIDS virus. He's been, I think, just really erratic with the coronavirus in general. I think that there's been a lot of bad data out there, but he's basically given every opinion under the sun since March on what to do with the coronavirus. I like him. He seems like a very affable guy. But one of the things they sold you on was that he used to be an athlete, and that was not the throw of an athlete. All right? So I have been there. You only get a couple of tosses on the side before you go out to throw the first pitch. That can be a complicating factor in that you're not really loose. You don't really know what to do. But I always question why somebody agrees to go out and throw a first pitch if they really don't look like they have ever thrown a baseball before. And that's what Dr. Anthony Fauci looked like to me. And he's supposedly a big baseball fan, like he had never actually thrown a baseball before. So that was the story that came out of the first game. That's at least lighthearted. It's not that serious in the grand scheme of things. Some of the Corona bros were upset because Dr. Fauci was getting made fun of over the pitch. Look, you're fair game no matter how regal of a person you are if you go out and throw the first pitch and you don't do a good job. It doesn't matter how amazing of a human being you are. If you're out there and the first pitch is a disaster. I think it was the mayor of Cincinnati that had a disastrous first pitch. You remember that? Where he basically threw it towards the sideline, nearly to the dugout, and it wasn't as if he was actually attempting to do it, to totally be entertaining. 50 Cent had one that was totally a disaster. But Dr. Fauci was not a good look to start off the baseball season. All right, so that was a bit of a mess with that awful first pitch from Dr. Fauci. Now, on top of that, as if that were not enough, the game actually went off. I think we're going to end up, I don't know how long this is going to go on, right? And I don't know how long we're going to spend basically in the same place that we were several years ago in the NFL, where all of the media coverage is focused on what people do during the national anthem. But in the second game, in the game at Chavez Ravine out in L.A., Mookie Betts took a knee. And that is going to be, I believe, the number one story all day long. So baseball is returning after the longest gap I think that baseball's ever had in this country. And on the first day back, the story is going to be about the highest paid player in baseball deciding to take a knee. Now, here's what I have to say in general. I don't care about anybody's politics. Coming up next, we're going to have Cousin Sal from my television show on. And Cousin Sal and I have different politics. And I don't apologize at all for any of my opinions on anything. I sometimes feel like it's unfortunate when people other than me take flack for what I say, but I'm not going to tiptoe up to my opinion at all. So I understand everybody out there who has strong opinions on any variety of subject, right? But I do think, and I'm going to continue to beat this drum, and I think I'm going to be proven correct. I think the vast, vast majority of you out there who are listening to me and who are choosing to watch sports, I think the vast, vast majority of you do that to escape the serious things in life. To me, sports is not about politics. The number one reason people watch sports is to escape the real world and be entertained. If you want to marinate in the real world, there are lots of places you can go spend time. And so I think teams, players, and leagues have been seduced by a small minority of people on social media who want activism in their sports. And I think those people who are active on social media aren't even actually sports fans. I don't think it's going to be a good result for Major League Baseball. I don't think it's going to be a good result for the NFL. And I don't think it's going to be a good result for the NBA for them to lean hardcore into politics in a year where I think so many people want to escape politics. Now, some of you out there are going to say, well, you talk about politics. Like, yeah, but I don't have to speak to the entire nation every morning. I'm in the opinion business. That's what I'm in. Every single day, you guys who listen to this show, and thank you so much for listening so much, and thank you for growing our audience, tripling our podcast since March. It's unheard of how much our audience has grown. You come to hear me because you know I'm going to tell you the unvarnished truth every single day. I'm not really in the sports business. I'm in the opinion business. Sports is the focus of this show, but really, you come because you want to hear my opinions every day. That's what I do for a living. And so if I were in the entire sports business, if I were an athlete, or if I were an owner, or if I were trying to appeal to 100% of the population, I would try to appeal to all those people with my excellence on the field, not with my political opinions. And I think that's where baseball and the NFL and for a major going to alienate a lot of their fans. And I think we've never had more entertainment options, and people are going to choose to spend their time elsewhere. I really do think that's what's going to happen.